Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing is August the 4th, 2025, noontime cryptocurrency update. And we're going to get right on into this. And you can see we're going to start with the Ethereum price. We had the big correction on Friday, Thursday, and Friday, specifically Friday. And then over the weekend, we did find support just below the 3483, and we've continued up now back over top of the green trading support and resistance box, something that we were talking about over the weekend. And then last night, it pumped up. And then this morning, it made another leg up. And now what we're watching is we're on the top side of this 3483 and 95 cents. So we're bullish again. And now we can try to make a run at 4,049.04 for any kind of reason. Obviously, this is your immediate short-term resistance on your way up to here, which is your megaphone neckline support from the last 4-year macro time frame plat or pattern. For any reason, if you get resisted and start to trend down again, your underneath support is 3483.95, right? And that's where you'd be looking at as major support. And then if you broke that, you're 3059. And if you hit that, you would expect a bounce like you're having right here if you ended up breaking back through and moving down to lower support. So major upper resistance, which is a 3.5-year pattern, megaphone neckline at 4049.04. Major underneath support at 3059, and the short-term support to continue bullish is 3483. And if we zoom out before we go on to the next coin here, as this is just a lunchtime update, you can see that megaphone pattern there in red, where a megaphone pattern can be bullish or bearish patterns. And this one is on the rise, where you had a bear market, then you had the big rise, which was a rising channel, which is like a flag, right? And then you have a horizontal upper resistance over a long period of time, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And this one started in March of 24. So it's a year and a half right now where we had upper resistance in March, then again in May at the same area, then again in December of 24, and then again this year in the same area in 25. So that is your overhead megaphone neckline. And then your underneath support is a descending, so that forms the megaphone. See how that looks like a megaphone? And if that does break bullish eventually, your target would be $10,000, right? From the bottom of the megaphone to the top to the neckline breakout. So I just want to let you know what that megaphone pattern was so you weren't like Vincenzo. What is this megaphone pattern that you speak of? The XLM we're looking at, it's had a nice pump like we would expect because it did wick beautifully off of delete the 36-cent top part of that green support and resistance box and the 50-day moving average. So that is a buy zone, right? And then it did bounce off of that quite successfully, and now we're just below the 43 cent, sitting at 41 and a third cent. And your initial upper resistance right now is right here at the 43 cents. If we can climb up that high, and we would have to pay attention to see if that would use it as resistance because it's going to want to because it's coming at it from below. But if you can break that, obviously your next move would be trying to reattack this 48 cents. If you can't get above the 43 cents, you would eventually come back to the 36 cents. And if you did that and broke into this area below it, your next target would be the 100-day and then the bottom part of this underneath green trading box of the support level. And you can see if we break this down and quick and easy to move on to the next coin and to give you what you need to know today, your major short-term resistance is 43 cents. And you do know as long as you're below that, you're short-term bearish. If you can't get back above this, a likely retest to the 36 cents is likely, right? And then that would be the bearish option, which would be if you broke the 36 cents, your next major support is the 100-day moving average, right? With a magnet going to 31. But as long as you stay above this 36 cents, your 43 cents is your upper resistance that you're trying to break. If you can break the 43, your next major upper resistance is 55 cents with the mid ground here at 49. So in short, you want to break the 43 or you're short-term bearish still when you're below 43. As long as you're above 36, you're medium term bullish, right? And if you break the 43 cents, you would look for a quick move up to this 50 to 51 cents. If you get rejected by the 43 cents, you would expect a quick move down to the 36 cents, right? In the short term. So that's what we got going on there with the XRP or with the XLM. We're going to move along into the XRP now. And you can see XRP is ahead of where XLM is as we're up against the 307 resistance, which is that new a support and resistance area, and in the short term, when you're below that, you're bearish in the short term. If you get above it, you're bullish in the short term. Where you can make a run up to the 376. If you're below the 307, it wants to act like a magnet down to the 255. Right level, but you can see where we got our initial bounce. We didn't have to come to the 255 like XLM went to the 36 cents. We got held by the 50-day moving average here, which is above this support level. So we bounced. Now in the short term, if you can break the 307, you can make a run back up at the 366 regional high. If you get resisted where you're at by this resistance level, you would come down. The next move down would be a retest to the 50 and then down to the 255. And as you do know, as long as you're above the 255, you're medium term bullish. If you're below the 307, you're short term bearish. If you're above the 307, you're short term bullish. If you're below the 255, you're medium term bearish, right? So we're at major support and resistance levels, and we're going to continue to stay on top of this for you. I'll try to do a couple of posts while I'm at work today. Uh, on the post part that we can do. If anything crazy happens, you can see the Bitcoin price did come down to the 50-day moving average on Friday, held support over the weekend, and slowly started to turn up last night and today. Now we're just above the 50. And now, if this is going to continue bullish and try to play out that track like you see with the consolidation and make a run at the 155, you would start now by either holding the 50 or holding the pattern support from the last 3.5 years, dating back to when we entered this pattern in September of 22. So it'll be 3 years next month. We've been on this rising wedge, which we all know came off of that mountain double top with the targeted move of 13,000 and change, and we came down to 15,000 and change. So it was a very good call, but that's the rising channel. So your major short term, what you need to know here in Bitcoin to move about your day is in the short term, the 50-day moving average, what you're on is a major short term support level. Your pattern 3-year support is this uptrending rising wedge, which is just below an uptrending 100-day moving average. And that is what you need to hold on any kind of consolidation to stay short-term bullish. You get below this, you're medium-term bearish, and you'd be looking at a 97,000 to potentially 90,000 underneath medium-term targets, right? So you want to stay above this 3-year long pattern support. Right now, you're currently holding the 50. If you can continue to hold the 50, that's how you can make a short-term run up to this 150,000. Like the channel, subscribe. Peace and love. The Rock's Eyebrow, Jay.